We want to start off with a reminder that we are not doctors. Before you make any changes or try something new, always consult with your doctor and medical team first. Chronic illness can vary from patient to patient, so it's always best to consult with your own doctor for what is best for you.
Hello and welcome to IBDetermined. I'm your host, Mason Harvey, and I speak from the role of a patient, and I have Crohn's disease.
And I'm your other host, Michelle Harvey. I am Mason's mom, and I speak in the role of a caregiver on this podcast. And today's a very special episode.
Yes, today's a special episode.
We made it
Yes.
to 1 year.
We made it one entire year of this podcast. We didn't think that would happen. It ended up to be a year long. It's crazy because it feels like we just started it.
I know. Well, in some ways it feels like it's been a really long time.
Yeah.
In some ways it feels like it's been really fast. Kind of like a school year or something like that, where like the work.
Like, I just started school, and
Yeah,
you're
and
like,
then
I don't want to go to school.
and it
It
drags
takes
on
so
and
long.
on.
And then you're like, oh, but it was so fast. And
Yeah.
then you're just constantly going in between.
Yeah, and I just remember when we started this that we were like, should we do that? How many should we do? Like one a month, one every couple weeks, once a week? And it was kind of like, well, let's try once a week and see what happens. And then it became like a goal to keep doing that and at least make it to 1 year doing these once a week. And obviously we're not a huge podcast, so this is definitely a labor of love. I think it's important to mention why we even started this and why we're doing this, because we are not getting paid. We're not making any money from this. We have made no attempts to like grow this or monetize it in any way. And
It was here for our viewers.
Yeah, that was the point, was I think feeling like we have an outlet somewhere to talk about things, because a lot of people with this disease
may feel alone, and there's not many good obviously there's a Crohn's Class Foundation, but there's not really like YouTube videos or podcasts about it because it's different for everyone. And so I think it'd be cool if there were more, obviously.
And there's others out there who do this, but I don't think, we're one of the, I think mother and son duos. I think there's people who are a patient who are adults, but I don't think there's a lot of kids talking about it like you. Yeah. So I think what sets us apart and what was so important to us was to
want to raise awareness.
Also represent the kids.
Yeah. Represent kids and raise awareness for the kids.
Yeah. And also for me to support caregivers and have a place where caregivers can listen. And some of you are patients and caregivers out there. You might also have Crohn's, your child might have Crohn's. And so we wanted to give that perspective, not just from like an angry stance at, how awful this disease is, but to really educate and show how you can thrive and overcome. And that was where IBDetermined came from.
Determined
the name.
and IBD.
Yeah. And not to just be so angry, because it's very easy to be angry at this disease. It's very easy to be angry at a lot of things about it. So the important thing was to create a safe space where people could listen and relate, and maybe just like once a week feel like, hey, I talked with a friend. That was the motivation. And so I think we've done that. I think we have achieved what we set out to achieve with that. And my hope is more people find this and use it as a source of comfort or a source of education, whatever they may do. I hope it continues to grow, because these are staying online and they're staying on, they're out there.
Yeah,
so
forever, a part
we're
of
not removing
history.
them. Yeah. So kind of leads me to something else. It was kind of funny, like how different our first podcast is.
Yeah, to now. Our first setup was in a totally different room.
Yeah, we were in our living room and we were at a table, like set up on a table in the middle of our living room.
Yeah.
And because the room that we're currently in, I wasn't sure if it's like this is a smaller office.
Yeah, office.
Yeah, mix, because I use it for my business. So I have a home office area set up, it's off to my left. I have, like, another desk area for that, and then, behind me, you can see the crafting stuff, all that, and then it's also a photography room off to the right. We have
Yes.
we have a photo studio for shooting our candles. So, we have a whole separate space for our candles, thankfully.
And the plus about being in this room is you're further back in the house.
Mhm.
So when we were in the living room, we'd be sitting there recording, we'd be talking about something, then a bus would drive by.
Yeah, like
Go,
something would
you can hear it in the
yeah.
microphone.
We had those arms that
Yeah,
attach the
because it was at
table
the
and
other table, yeah.
yeah, yeah, so I liked those better.
Because they aren't on the ground,
Yeah,
but they would attach to the table, they go over and hang like this, so you can adjust it however you want.
yeah. So I think just even being in that room, it was like starting to become like you would see these tables and you're like, oh, it's like a homework reminder. We've got it,
Mhm.
and it was messy, and so I was like, we got to get it into a different room. And so
Mm.
I think your voice has
Yeah,
changed
it has changed.
since we started. And I thought when we started, your voice was already very different. And
Yeah.
so it's interesting when I do editing.
You go back and
Um,
watch the original videos and
Yeah.
hear the
Well, because we have the intro and the outro,
yeah.
and your voice is different than it currently is. So
Mm.
that's also
Oh, yeah.
interesting. And I think also it was very strange to talk to a camera, like, about stuff,
Yeah, we
I
never
think.
had really talked about we had never really talked to cameras like that.
No.
Obviously, for the news.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, like doing interviews on the news, which was already nerve-wracking. It's
Yeah.
never but we weren't like people who like took a lot of selfies and recorded ourselves talking and doing stuff. So it was kind of like those first few episodes, it was just really weird to try to just like have a conversation and
Mhm.
not make it weird because it was weird. And
Yeah.
so I think it was you'll probably notice there it might have we were slightly different because we were nervous too. Like you wanna get your point across and be like, have people listen, and it's like, "But how does this
How do you
sound?"
say
Or,
that? Yeah,
"Am
how
I
do you say
saying,
it right?
a lot? Am I" we
If you've watched this podcast from the beginning, you probably know, but,
yeah,
that's a big part of
I
the
did
podcast.
yeah, it's so you become very self-aware
Mhm.
of things you do when you constantly hear yourself, and you're like, "Oh
Oh,
my
yeah, if
gosh."
you want, you can comment, in the comments.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun listening back when you're editing,
Yeah,
and
it's always fun looking at back at the past and what has changed, what is
yeah,
better now than it
yeah.
was, just seeing how far you've progressed.
And I think it would be fun to sometimes, like, go back to those old episodes and redo them, like,
Yeah,
because things change with this disease. So something that was we talked about a year ago may
may not
be
be relevant.
relevant, may be different. And so I think the neat thing is we still can continue to educate and update and maybe change a few things. But yeah, it
Mhm.
was kind of funny. Even like figuring out the headphones with my hair.
Yeah.
I mean, and you have longer hair too.
Have fun,
But
yeah.
it was like a couple, I'm like, "What was my hair doing? What was I thinking?" And those of
It's
you listening,
sometimes
you
it would
don't
get
know.
stuck in the headphone and you're
Yeah.
like, "Oh."
Yeah, and then I try to, like, put it in front, and then my hair was, like, in my face, and I don't wanna touch it because I'm trying to
Silly,
speak,
just
and
put it behind that.
yeah, so now it's so
It's
it's funny the things that you remember, like, in those early days because it was just a lot of learning, and the one thing that hasn't changed is we still do our research the same way. It's every episode is researched before we go into it. So it's like we know what we know we want to say, but it's important for us to make sure we have facts to support what we're talking about or
and they're from
to
good sources.
yes, yes. So it's like writing a good essay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes,
You want to
excellent.
have good sources and you want to be able to have counter arguments and
Mhm.
you want to bring up all sides and be fair. And so a lot of thought goes in every episode, which is
Mhm.
one of the reasons why we're going to be switching to every 2 weeks. And this is going to be your final year of school that
Yeah.
we're heading into. And I think it's very important that you're able to focus and have the time you need to do well and enjoy
Mhm.
that last year. So going every 2 weeks is gonna be helpful because I think we've talked about before, but the process of getting a podcast to you guys, it starts with our list. We have a list of ideas,
Mhm.
things we
Take
wanna
a
talk
list of
about,
ideas, yeah, you choose
and then
one.
we put it into an outline. So it's
Mhm.
kinda like writing an essay. Once a week, we do this, and so you put into your outline, then you find
Start
out what
different
you
topics to talk about.
mhm,
Mhm.
and what you need to research, and so you have a day of researching and writing.
Thankfully, we have the Coins and Collides Foundation because
Yeah.
that's a very reliable source.
Yes, and we have to reach out to many other sources too,
Mhm.
so we make sure that it is well rounded as
Yes.
well. And so I usually am the one who's writing and getting a lot of these ready because Mason has other things going on. And so sometimes he does help when he can, and other times it's all on me. So it's a
Mhm.
lot because I work too. And so this is, like I said, it's not paid, so it's all volunteer time, and we do other volunteer activities
Yeah.
as well. And so we have like a day dedicated to writing, getting this ready. Then on a filming day, it's about maybe like a 1 to 2 hour window, depending what we're doing, getting
Mhm.
setting up, going over the outline for the day and getting started filming. And then I take a day
To
to
edit.
edit as
Yeah.
well. And so I load it up, make sure it's all edited,
What would you
and
say is the hardest part about the process?
I think the hardest part is writing the episode.
It makes sense because you have to find
Yeah.
everything. Yeah.
And then you wanna make sure it's quality, like,
It's
what you're
not
talking.
boring.
Yeah, and I mean, I know sometimes it
Sometimes it
probably
can be
is,
boring.
but it's, like, it's important that we are addressing concerns, that we are addressing them correctly,
Mhm.
and it is super important that we're giving you guys something out there that helps. Otherwise, what is the point of
Yeah,
us
why would you just watch a
talking?
podcast that
Why are
doesn't
we doing
really
this?
do anything?
Like, there's really, I mean, otherwise we could just sit here and vent.
Mhm.
I mean, we could talk about things that bothered
I mean,
you.
great background disease.
Yeah, I
Talk.
mean, and we could do a whole thing just talking about Mason, but it was always important that if somebody's out there listening and needed us and there's something like they were going through and we could help them, I always want to make sure that we're presenting something that will help somebody. So that's
Mhm.
the hardest part too, is making sure that
It's all
they are taken
yeah.
care of and the audience is taken care of. That's my concern. And also making sure it's not too much for you. I know
Mhm.
sometimes you probably listen to this and Mason is either very quiet, I it
Or
seems.
sometimes I don't know if you edit it out or not, but
Mhm.
sometimes I'll be like this.
Yeah, he kinda, like, spaces out a little
Uh-huh.
bit. He
They're
just
like, "Oh, yeah, I forgot."
all of a sudden, I'm like, "Hey, are you there? Are we," you know? And so it's but it's
Mhm.
all okay. I
Yeah,
mean, it's not like it's just a podcast. That's a good thing.
yeah.
And
The fun part about podcasts, I think they're obviously fun to me. It's a lot more work for you because you have to edit and
yeah,
all that stuff.
yeah.
But the fun part about a podcast for me is because when we used to go on the news, obviously they have the questions for you, so you don't have
Mhm.
to write them yourself.
Yeah.
There you don't wanna waste their time, you wanna
Yes.
get things right when you can. You have
Yeah.
to try to get it right the first time, but with a podcast, you have pretty much the whole day to record if you really need it,
Right.
because you can go back and say 1, 2, 3, and then restart,
Yeah.
and
Which is what we do.
yeah.
We'll restart. As I always tell Mason, if you feel like something you said was.
Like, not restart the entire episode, but
Yeah,
we'll
just
restart
the
from a
part.
point.
Right. It's like if you feel like something you wanna say differently or you wanna add something, it's like we just cut and add it and then can put that in there. And for those of you, because like if any of you listening have ever been on the news, there's many different, like, he's done live television, and the reporter will go live and will interview people or talk to them live, and so
Yeah.
that's it. Once you are
Yeah, but
done,
you have to get it right the first time. There is no
yeah.
other
I mean, and it's fun for the audience if you
yeah,
don't, I guess.
yeah.
But
Yeah, just entertain the audience.
yeah, but it's very
Mhm.
nerve-wracking to be live, and then there's other ones that you've done that we've done, I've done, and they are pre-recorded, but those are also still
Yeah.
difficult because
You don't wanna be wasting the newscaster's
no,
time.
because I don't know if a lot of you probably I mean, maybe you do realize this, maybe it was just me, but there have been times where we needed to get that we got a call from a reporter who wanted to interview us, and quite literally, they were at our home within an hour of that phone call.
You're like, "Can we come over?" "Yeah, we can." And then you're like, "Oh,
It's
wait, they're
like,
already here."
oh my gosh, and I don't know how many of you have your home camera ready, have yourself camera ready, and have an hour to do all of this and welcome a camera crew into your home and a reporter, and typically what they do is they film and then they are getting it ready for that day. Maybe
They are.
since
They have a lot of stuff to do.
they
So
do.
when they do something, you need to get it done.
Right, and it's like maybe it'll be air the next day, but they have to get it turned in so their editors can get it ready for the news. It's like Mason was saying, you kind of feel some pressure, and sometimes too, like, you don't know the questions. That's the other thing. It's not
Yeah.
like there's an outline, there's
So you
nothing sent to you.
But
You have
usually
no
what we
idea.
try to do is we just ask random questions before they
Mhm.
get here, or
Like, what
if
do you
you know,
think
yeah,
they're gonna ask? And it's like,
yeah.
how would you respond? And you think we're not right.
And then they get here and they start asking questions. You realize everything that you got asked to get ready was not anything they asked,
No, but I think it's always
but it
good
still
practice.
helps.
I
Yeah.
think it's helpful because you get a little bit nervous, and so it's good to kinda, like, keep you thinking and
Hmm.
practicing answering questions just, like, off the cuff like that. So this is very different because it's much more relaxed that we know what we're talking about. Sometimes too, like, news likes to put a spin on things, and so they will take clips. I mean, you will record for like an hour of recording or maybe not quite that long, but it's like it's in like they may use a clip in a minute, like a
Hmm.
minute of you talking about something. And it's
That's
like, what are they
all
gonna
the time for
choose?
that fast. You don't know what they're
Which
gonna choose.
which part are they gonna choose? So that is so anyways, that's kind of sidetracked,
Hmm.
that's why for doing these, I think this is easier.
Yeah, just a
It's a more
more
relaxed, I guess,
enjoyable, I
not easier,
guess.
yeah, more enjoyable,
Hmm.
which is part of the importance
But
of this.
being on the news is still fun, but a little
Definitely.
bit of stress.
Mason will still do news
Yes,
interviews
I
if you're
will.
listening. He is happy to do them, but you're pretty much pro. You
Yeah,
yeah,
put
this
on the
kid.
news like I don't even know how many times.
Yeah. So I thought podcast, okay, he's
Yeah.
got this. But it was also important to me that we were not going to do this podcast if you didn't enjoy it
Mhm.
because you are, I mean, our audience is important, but Mason is more important to me. And so it's like if this wasn't something he enjoyed, I mean, I think you always enjoyed it a little bit, but it was work. It was like extra, it was like
Extra
homework.
work, yeah.
And when you're in the school year,
Yeah,
that's
trying to catch up on stuff because you have
yeah,
infusion,
yeah.
so you're a few days
Mhm.
late, so you have to work on Saturday and Sunday, and then you have
Yeah.
a podcast to do.
And I think that's why I do a lot of the writing. I do as much as I can to take it off his shoulders. So that way he just gets to pretty much show up to
Mhm.
record the podcast and then go back
Go over
to
what we're talking about.
yeah, so that way it's not a lot of pressure on him. And as he gets older, if he wants to participate differently and we'll see where this goes. I don't know. We're going to give it a go again. But as I said, it's going to be every 2 weeks. And I think that'll be good though, because it allows us to hopefully get some guests on because it's been difficult
Yeah.
that to like try
So, yeah,
to
we're gonna be doing episodes every 2 weeks,
Mhm.
but we're gonna have maybe guests on our show,
Yeah, well,
so
that's always been the plan, but it's always been so
mhm,
hard because we have like a week and we have to get stuff done. We're never
yeah.
ahead. It's not like we film 10 episodes and we can just let those all roll out. We do this by the week.
Mhm.
And
So now
so
we can do
that's
it every
hard.
2 weeks, so now we can be prepared for 1 episode, so we can serve
Right.
bigger episodes
Yep.
every
So that's what I'm
less
excited
episodes,
about.
but more entertaining episodes,
Yeah,
hopefully they
just kind of
entertain,
change it up because we don't want to keep doing the same stuff.
because it can get boring.
And we want to also bring in experts and
Yeah.
people that we can ask, have you guys send in questions or if there's things we can ask that we notice other people ask a lot, we can talk to these experts for you
Mhm.
guys. So that's exciting to me.
And
And
they're
so
experts.
yeah, and that'll be we have a lot of people that are very involved in the
Mhm.
IBD community or in other ways. I think eventually we also like to branch out into other chronic diseases, chronic illnesses, and just talk about how people overcome and not focus so much on the illness or the disease or whatever it is, but focus on how these people are thriving.
Mhm.
And I think that's important too. So yeah, so that's we're gonna be going to every 2 weeks as we kind of had mentioned a few weeks back. That is still the plan. So this episode, we'll see you guys in 2 weeks from when this airs. It'll be our next episode. So
So
that'll be really
sweet.
cool. And I think I'm excited because I've learned a lot about podcasting. I've learned a lot about editing. It's
Yes.
been a crash course
I
for
kinda
me,
want it's something I wanna learn about is
which is
editing.
I think would be fun to involve you more in because I think you would enjoy that.
I don't always like editing though.
Mhm,
Obviously I don't like editing sometimes, but the idea of it
mhm.
sounds fun.
Yeah,
Obviously, when you have a certain deadline.
it changes
Actually,
things.
something that I don't understand is you have YouTubers that obviously they hire editors, but they post 2 videos a day,
Yeah.
and it's a challenge to post 1 a week for us. Obviously, they have people working for them, but it's just crazy how fast they can
And
produce
that is
videos.
why that is their
Yeah.
job, and this is more of our volunteer job
Mhm.
because
I'm just doing a video, I'm just doing it for
we
fun.
have other jobs every
Yeah.
day, other things, we're very
You got
busy.
drones.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, you've got lots of different things going on in your
Got
life.
college.
Yeah, that's another focus. So things are changing in our lives and we're just kind of adapting with it. But we do definitely want to still continue with the podcast.
Yeah.
I think it's good for you to be able to talk about things too and get things out there that you want to talk about.
Speak up against Crohn's disease.
What is like your favorite episodes, memories, favorite, I guess anything about it in the past year?
It's hard to say what my favorite memory is.
Mhm.
I'd probably say first day
Mhm.
because it led up to this.
Yeah.
And if we didn't start then, we wouldn't have started.
I was
Um,
ignorant, and I would agree because I think
mhm.
like a lot of people wait for something to happen when you have an idea. It's like you get this idea because we had the podcast plan for 2 years prior, but
Yeah,
he
you have
was
an idea. It's a good idea, but
yeah.
then you don't do anything with
And
it.
we had the podcast name reserved, we had
IBDetermined,
everything
yeah.
saved, but Mason wasn't ready.
No.
You were not it was not something you were like, "No." And so until Mason was like, "You know what? I wanna do this."
Mhm.
But I think you all have to make that decision, and if you sitting there listening, if you have an idea on something you want to do, it's not gonna happen
Unless
unless
you do
you do
something about
something.
it. Mhm.
And so I think the first episode's exciting for me because we finally
Did something.
took that yeah, like,
And when we were
did
done
that.
recording it, it was like, wow, that was the first episode.
It was exciting,
Mhm.
and it was like, "Oh my gosh, we did this, we accomplished this," and then we had a second episode, and
Mhm.
we kept going, and so, yeah, I think it was exciting to just finally take that leap and to finally be able to tell people what we had been wanting to
Mhm.
do, and I also knew we were able to start reaching other people because I always knew that some of you out there who listen could use something
Mhm.
like this.
Inspirational.
Yeah, so I
Something
felt
to
like,
look into.
"Finally,
Yeah.
we finally did it," and do you have any are there any bad like, anything that happened during it that was frustrating or was nerve what were there any
Oh, I don't think there's any bad memories. The only bad memory that I have of this podcast is when we were recording a video and then the Wi-Fi went out and then the video
okay, so that is there okay, yeah, there have
it
been
was a long video too.
yes, and that was, luckily, we were able to get back on, and we picked up and I don't think anybody ever knew,
Yeah.
the
Editing.
panic.
We love editing.
Yeah, like the panic we went through
Yeah.
trying to figure and then the one time because we used to record this on a laptop. We
Yeah, I
started
used
off
to do it
on
on my laptop.
my laptop,
That
and
that poor little laptop.
it was, like, starting to it was a little bit too much for it
Yeah, the
because
editing programs take up so much
mhm,
space.
yeah, and
Yeah, we were on a whole new computer we had to get for this.
yeah, we had to buy all new
Yeah,
equipment to make sure it could handle it because the laptop was kinda, like, protesting, like, "No,
yeah.
thank you,
Feel
I'm
bad for it.
done," and
Mhm.
it one time, we did, like it was like a we talked for, like, an hour and 15 minutes because sometimes we talk longer and
Oh,
you
yeah,
only
I remember
see
this.
half an hour, 45 minutes of
Yeah,
it. But do you remember we did
yeah,
all that
I remember.
and
That was a bad
I didn't
memory.
save it because I think at
I
the
think
time
we
there was enough
forgot to
memory.
press Oh, yeah.
I think that there
There
was
was a time when we
something.
forgot to press record, but I think we
We figured it
remembered,
out
yeah.
pretty quickly. Yeah.
But that time, it just deleted
I have no
everything.
idea what happened, and so we had to re-record the
Yeah.
whole episode.
Thankfully, we recorded on Saturday, so then
Yeah.
we were able to record it on Sunday.
Yeah, we gave ourselves a little break because we gotta get everything edited by Monday and
Mhm,
get it uploaded onto YouTube and everything. I try to do it all by Tuesdays. Unless he's at the hospital, we do it on Wednesdays.
mhm.
So we have to be organized with this, but it was very frustrating. That to me
Yeah.
was a bad,
It was a really long one too,
yeah,
and it just got deleted, and you're like,
yeah. And then we had one episode where we had somebody get very upset at what we talked about. And we had got a phone call, we better remove it. And I had to make a decision because it was nothing bad that we said.
mhm,
And it was actually trying to offer help
to other people.
to get them to understand and understand more about this disease. And unfortunately, I had to make the decision to pull the entire episode. So briefly, I took it off and I didn't remove it because I felt wrong. I removed it because I didn't want to cause
Mhm.
stress or problems. And I mean, that's not what we're here to
No, we
do.
don't wanna cause stress or
No.
anger
And
or any
so
of that.
I had to spend a whole day re-editing. But then I let them know, "Hey, I took anything that could even be perceived to be about you. I took anything out," even though again, it was nothing negative. And then after doing all that,
They were still
they
angry.
were still angry. It was crazy. And it was a whole episode on
Mhm.
support and being there for each other.
That's
And
not supportive.
no,
See,
no,
there's a problem with the world now because everyone takes things and they make it about themselves.
and so I learned, like, I shouldn't have done anything, I should have left it
Mhm.
because there was nothing wrong with
And
what
when
it
you did do it,
was.
nothing changed either.
No, nothing changed, and it
Choose
was
happiness, choose peace.
yeah, yeah, and that's all we try to do. We always try to be very fair
Mhm.
and to try to share our stories because I think people like you listening, you like
Mhm.
to hear.
Yeah, they're hearing stories.
Yeah.
And if you have been watching us since the beginning, you would know that
Oh,
just trying to help people out there. We want to make them realize they're not alone.
yep.
They not to feel bad about themselves. We want to help others.
Right. That's the main thing. Just be a good person, you know?
Yeah, and there's also no, this has not happened to us, but there'll be people on YouTube, and you look in the comments, and they get mad at this person for making a video,
Yeah.
and
I was worried about
they're
that.
getting mad at people for making this video. But the thing is, how can you be mad at this person for making this video if you didn't have to watch it? You made the decision to click on that video and watch it.
Right.
And then you could have just said, "Well, I don't like this video. I'm gonna go watch something else." But you take your time to go into the comments and write about something this person is just trying to make a video about,
Mhm.
and you didn't have to click on it. You can go watch something else.
That
And it's just sad to see people get so
and
angry
everybody's
about that
does that a lot. Like, that's what I was worried
drama.
about, is I didn't want people starting
Thankfully,
drama.
there hasn't been
No,
any of that.
no, 'cause again, I'm not here for the
No,
drama. You're not here for the drama.
no.
We're here to help, to inspire, and to educate, and so if for I'm it's like I'm not here for that. Luckily, everyone I didn't think anybody would be like that, but you
Mhm.
never know. Some people are trolls and they just like
Yeah.
to come in the comments and make the attention on themselves and say something like rude and get responses.
If you
And
are a YouTuber getting those kinds of
mhm.
messages, I'm sorry for you.
Yeah, it's like it's not cool. And I think if unless you're protesting, like unless it's something they said that you want to counter argue or is something you don't agree with, but you can do it in a civil manner. Like there's no need to
You don't
be
have to blast people for no
no,
reason.
or be cruel.
Mhm.
I am thankful that it has gone the way it's gone,
It's gone so smoothly.
and the people that have commented and everyone has been
We
super
appreciate
kind.
your comments.
Yeah, super supportive, and I really enjoy hearing your stories and how you relate, and it is so it makes us not feel alone either. And
Mhm.
so I think it's like it's a win-win for all of us. So we're going to keep going,
Yes.
and I think it's been a good year. It has been a lot of learning, a lot of work, like so much work. It's like I said, writing an essay every week.
It's worth it if we're helping, the
But
viewers.
but it makes it worth it, and so I think that, the 2 weeks is gonna help. I think having
Mhm. A
that
little
break will be
buffer.
yeah, it'll be good for you, it'll be good for me, and it'll be good for having guests because we can focus on setting up the time to interview guests instead of trying to figure out our next episode and
Mhm.
focusing on that, and so I think this will be more fun, and I hope you guys are excited about it, and if you have any feedback on that, let us know in the comments or message us, let us know what you think, but otherwise, um you guys are gonna see us in 2 weeks.
2 weeks, yeah.
So, yeah. So,
Just 2 weeks.
this is yeah, so I don't think is there anything else you want to add or
I don't think so.
okay. Well, then, with
Mhm.
that, as we always ask you to, give us a follow on
Mhm.
Instagram at Team IBDetermined and the Reggie Project. And you can also listen to us, which you might be listening on one of these places right now on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, and many more in our link for the Buzzsprouts link that will show you all the places we're available to listen.
Mhm.
And you can also listen to us on YouTube. YouTube
Yes.
does have has the podcast
Has a
feature.
podcast feature, yeah.
Mhm.
But if you do wanna watch us, you can watch us on the videos, the YouTube videos, but if you already are on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe, and if you wanna be notified every time we post a video, make sure to hit that bell icon. Every time I say that, I try to go faster and faster.
I know you are. You're getting, like,
Uh,
really quick, like you're selling it.
yeah, we're selling it.
And
Yeah,
like
please
some
leave a comment.
leave a
We love getting
comment.
comments.
Yeah, if you can, or just say hi and let us know you're listening. You don't even have to, like, think of something. I know sometimes I don't comment on a lot of stuff on YouTube either because 'cause I'm like, "What
Yeah.
am I gonna say?" But we would love to hear just a hello, where you guys are listening from, if you wanna share a diagnosis or anything about you or how the episode helped or affected you, what we could talk about, if there's something that is really important that you think would be worth us discussing, even if we've talked about it before and you're like, "Hey, I think you should talk about
We
this
should
again."
recap again.
If you think it's important enough,
Let us
definitely.
know, yeah.
Yeah, we would love to do that. So, with that, this is the first time we get to say that. We will see you guys in 2
In 2
weeks
weeks,
on the
yeah.
next
Episode.
episode.
Remember to spread positivity.
Yes, exactly. Do
Yes.
something kind this week. Do something
Just
good.
do something good. Do something happy.
Alright, guys. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
We hope you will stick around, tune in, and reach out to us with your own journeys. We are excited to give you an inside view of what it takes to be a caregiver and what it's like to be a patient.
And most of all, we hope you'll maybe be able to play something you hear on here that might help you in your own life. Sometimes life changes, and it's all about how you handle the journey.